You would never know there were women involved in this industrial revolution, but there were several. Kovalak, a lady, invented Kevlar, the thing that goes into bulletproof vests and the helmets that people wear in armies are just protective gear. Then you've Hedy Lamarr. Have you heard of Hedy Lamarr? Oh, great. Well done, Ola. Yay. Almost heard of it. So Hedy Lamarr was an actress, actually. She was quite a well-known American actress. The thing she did, and actually Google recognized her last year, she had a large part to play in broad spectrum technology. In other words, the backbone of our mobile phones. You would never know that. We're too quiet. Work hard, go to school. Most people in this room, the ladies will have done, and so the gentlemen will have done very well at school. Most of you will have gone on to university, done very well in university, and assumed that if you got an A star in all of your exams, you would just rise. And you do, but you have to shout about it and bring other people behind you. And the people you've got to shout to are the teachers at school that you went to, actually, and your mums, and your grannies, and your nieces, and your nephews, and your children. Because this is the same for boys and girls aren't shouting. There aren't enough people doing technology, either male or female. It's just really bad for women. Then we have Grace Hopper. No? Yeah, lots of first lady invented the compiler. And of course, this is, do I have her? Oh, she's not there. So this is the fourth industrial revolution. It's happening now. A little bit scary. I think some of these pictures look kind of scary. Don't they look like, ooh. But it's going to change everything. It's changing everything now. You look at the technology that's coming into your home, Alexa, you know, you can do your heating from here. I can turn my heating on from here in my house in England and make sure that it's warm when I get home. The difference is if you don't have women as part of this picture, so there's the first, second, third, and fourth. And that's where we are now. And we're in a mixture. I have experienced some of the third because I'm old enough to have. And there's some of the fourth. And people do not know that women are involved in this revolution. And we have to go out and tell them that they need to be involved in this revolution. And the reason we do is because there's every reason to suggest that society will change completely during this fourth industrial revolution. You can see, in my view, some of the political implications in the US of the third industrial revolution. People in the Rust Belt in the US think all the jobs have gone to, to Mexico. Even in the last 10 years, car production, part of the second industrial revolution, needs 10 times fewer people to make cars now than it did 10 years ago. Depending on the numbers you look at, it's about 10 times fewer. That's extraordinary, and everything is going to change. You have a mobile phone. Very soon we're talking about driverless technology. Terribly exciting, unless you're somebody who drives a car for a living. People have to know that this is coming down the track. If you're in technology, and if I describe something to you, and later on today we'll have various people talking about the Internet of Things in your home and in your life. You can picture going to work in the mornings in a driverless car, maybe a driverless moped. We are in Barcelona. So driverless car drives you to work. You get out of the car goes, I think I need an oil change. The car goes, contacts a garage nearby, and says, who's got room to do my oil change today? It drives itself to do an oil change. It gets to do an oil change, and it discovers it needs something extra fixed. So it goes and it calls another car to come and pick you up from home, to bring you home, because it needs to stay in the garage overnight. It tells you on your phone, I'm going to send another car to you. I'm going to pick you up in this car, and I'm going to bring you home. It's done all of that on its own. Nobody made any phone calls. You didn't have to think about it. If you're a man, I would suggest you think that's fine. If you're a woman, you are more likely, and today would be the same thing potentially, to think, oops, I've got to pick the kids up from school. I've got to make sure mum's groceries have arrived on time. I have a birthday party tomorrow. I've been told the kids have to dress up like Harry Potter for school tomorrow. I've got all these other things to do. If you're not involved in the technology, it will stop there. If we are involved in the technology, guess what? It will text the school to say, I'm not going to pick up the kids today. The car that's going to come and pick up the kids has got a different car registration. It's a pink car, not a blue one. It'll send a message to my phone. It'll send me the picture of the car, so I know it's the car that's going to pick up the kids. It'll tell me, oh, I'm still going to send the groceries to your mum's house. I've looked in her fridge, she's run out of milk, she's run out of coffee. I'll put that into the order. Is that okay? You go, yes. It's your Auntie Maria's birthday tomorrow. Have you remembered the flowers? Oh, I'll send those. It completes the picture and makes your life easier. But it won't do that for you unless you're part of the picture. And the only way to have 10,000 women in this room is to tell them about it. They're not doing it just for the sake of technology. They're doing it to make life easier for themselves and other women, because there's a huge burden on women when you get to the middle part of your career and you want to stay in technology or medicine or anything else. You're looking after kids, you're looking after other people's kids sometimes, and you're looking after your parents on the other end, so you're sandwiched in the middle. And men have helped enormously over the last while. Certainly my husband is wonderful. I can safely say, if you want to get a great career, get a great man. That's true. He could say the same thing about me. But that is what we need. And so we need to move, but we need to be part of the narrative. If we're not there, it'll just happen to us, not with us. So, I've turned to again. Sorry. It's security conscious. That's the other thing, actually, is that if you are not involved in technology and if it comes into your home and you don't control it, it controls you, it's not great. How do you know that Alexia is not listening to you all day long? Even on your mobile phone. I spoke recently to somebody in one of the Secret Service people in England, and they can already take hold of your phone and see what you're doing already. It's not a difficult thing to do. So in case people think, and I can't emphasize this enough, this is a video, I think the next one's a video, because I can't see it, is a video that was recorded only a couple of years ago in England. And it's 5 to 7-year-olds, and it'll show you how early they stop doing some of the things they think they should do. And if you listen very carefully, you'll hear a child say in the middle of this, oh, they must all be dressed up. So I hope this will play. It should start itself. Whoop. Here we go. It's going to, yeah. Is the sound on? Oh, sorry. I'll just stop for a second. It's going to do the whole thing now. Sorry. Great. Okay, you okay?
This afternoon we're going to draw people doing different jobs. And the first job we're going to draw is firefighter.
Have a think in your head what a firefighter looks like.
What's your firefighter called?
Mine's called Firefighter Gary. Firefighter Stan. Firefighter Simon. He's big and strong. He's got a big hat on.
That's great, isn't it? Next we're going to draw a surgeon. Have you thought of a name for your surgeon? Jim Bob.
He's a brain surgeon. I think he would wear a stethoscope. He gives you medicine.
That's his ambulance. Okay, next we're going to draw a fighter pilot.
This is his jet plane. He rescues people. He likes to do stunts in the air and stuff.
Okay, now who would like to meet these people for real?
So this organisation are very good actually. So that, I think, tells a story all by itself. They've a benefit, whether you're male or female actually, because this isn't all about girls. First, I'd like to thank the men very particularly for being here today. In England, we call them, instead of ambassadors, the man-ambassadors for women in tech. So hugely helpful, because if this is all women in a room, we're just, talking to each other again. It's very useful to have everybody here. But that is interesting. And we don't have a sexy uniforms that we can wear when we walk into schools. This is what they think is going to walk into schools. Oh, that's the fourth I've spoken about her. You know who she is, Ada Lovelace, our hero. Bit of a funny lady, but she's the only one we know about. And just think of all the other ladies I mentioned. Actually, somebody who is worth mentioning, because if you think it's hard to find English women's names, it's not hard to find them when you go looking. In Spanish, whew, it's hard. But actually, I'm going to be very bad and pronounce Angela, yeah, Roots, a teacher. And she decided that people were carrying very heavy books, she's Spanish, carrying very heavy books to school. And she's one of the key people in terms of inventing electronic books. Have you heard of her? Good. Glad people have. Because I thought, well, you haven't heard of her if you're not Spanish, so she needs to shout louder even. So this is what tech looks like to most people. Mr. Geek. Who wants to be Mr. Geek? Nobody. Nobody wants to be Mr. Geek. He looks like a dork, nerds. For some reason, computers give you spots. I'm never very sure why. But what I would say to people, if you're any men or women in this room, if you have not gone back and spoken in your school to your teachers, please do. They will welcome you. Because teachers are quite afraid of teaching tech because they don't know about it either. They think coding is some strange thing. Tell your own story. This is what a technologist looks like. A middle-aged woman. I mean, she's beautiful, but really. But anybody can do this. Anyone. And everybody needs to know that they can do this. They don't have to be totally technical. Wow. Oh, I thought he crashed into the mildew. But they do have to be involved. And there's nothing stopping you. And this is not scary, it's not geeky, it's just an ordinary person. That could be somebody's mum, auntie, wife, whoever. And what you've got to do is tell them your story. What I do is tell them my story. I got my first computer. I know people don't think, some of you guys won't know there were computers in 1982, but there were. We were just starting to get PCs at home, no internet. Look at the spec on that. It was in colour. You basically used it on your TV. It was amazing. And that's why they put colours on the keyboard. The keyboard's really squishy, nice and tactile. You could buy it in kit form, which I did, but you could buy it straight out of the box. 48K, that's rock on. Used standard cassettes that you could just plug in a little device at the back. So unlike the Commodore 64, which I decided not to buy because it was too expensive and it needed special cassettes, this just took normal little tape cassettes like a tape recorder. It was pretty cheap and there were lots of games which kind of all looked the same. But it was very sociable because it took about 5 minutes to load every cassette and you played most of the games with your friends. So I really enjoyed it, but that's back in 1982. And the thing is that I was introduced to technology early and nobody told me I couldn't do it. I did a degree in computer science. It's still fewer than 18% of people doing computer science degrees are women. No better than it was when I got there. I did not know girls did not do tech. I sat there. There were 6 girls in a room twice the size of this doing computer science. 3 of us came from one small all-girls school. And we're there, are we in the wrong room? They must be doing something special for the girls or something in the next room. Nope, that was it. I mean, I will say an awful lot of the boys did look like that, but that's besides the point. But we were there. There aren't very many more of us today. And it gets ever more important that we are there. And it's why I go back into schools. And for me at this point, it's almost appealing to the teachers and the mums and the dads. Because if they know it, they'll push their kids to learn to code. I talk about driverless technology and it sounds great. It sounds like it's 100 years away to people who are not technical. And for us, we know it's 10 years away, or maybe because it's a computer science type project, it'll be a bit late, but we will deliver it. So that was my first one. The games did all look the same, but they were in colour. And there were lots of ones that were geared towards, you know, it didn't seem very girly or boyishy to me. It just was just games on a computer. Very sociable, quite nice. And we, you know, hello world, we could start to code on this as well. So it was wonderful. Thing is, for me, is it opened doors. It opens doors. It's meant that for me, I was born on I'm Irish, small craggy island on the edge of Europe. I've been able to live in Poland, I've been able to live in England, I've lived in the US. It opens doors. You can go anywhere. Or, for some people, which is very important, they can stay somewhere where they belong or where they feel most comfortable in their own hometowns and do this. It gets easier and easier to set up a business in technology. And the reason it does is because you don't need a big machine anymore. You can operate out of the cloud. I hate the word cloud, actually. It's just infrastructure that's available for anyone to use. And you rent it. You rent aeroplanes now. Even Rolls-Royce don't sell very many engines anymore. You pay per use. You pay for the number of hours you use something. The benefit is for that, obviously, in setting up a company, is that you pay per use. You don't need a big initial outlay for a company, so it should be easier. But the big piece for me is it's going to influence the way we live for the next couple of 100 years. And some people are definitely going to suffer. There's every reason to suggest that women will suffer more than men in this fourth industrial revolution. And the reason we will is in this country, and in the UK, and certainly in Australia and Ireland, and in many other countries, women still occupy small part-time roles that are likely to be taken over by technology and by robots. What is true is if you tell girls early at school, somebody's talking about TensorFlow and things, you think of the difference that's made. If you talk to girls about TensorFlow and Python, or worse still, their mums about TensorFlow, Python and things, they get a bit. If you tell them there's a translation engine that can take English and translate it into Catalan or Spanish or any other language, they're interested. If you tell them that it can look at 100 brain scans, 10,000 brain scans in a few moments and change medicine, they're interested. If you start to talk about things like driverless cars and think, I'd like to go to the UK tonight. The weather's terrible. I don't know if the planes are going to fly, and I hate flying anyway. Driverless car with a bed in it. It can drive you the whole way to the UK by morning. You get to a place in the UK, the driverless car pulls up to a little port, like a little movable hotel, and you get out and you have your shower, because it's got a whole little shower unit in there. And not alone that, it's got a machine you can hand your clothes to, and it'll press your clothes. You look all nice and groomed when you arrive. And you get out at the other end, and the only person you've seen is the person who does your hair, because every woman wants a hairdresser. So, you know, you can just move. Oh, sorry, done again. Sorry. How did I do that? Right. So this is a grocery company. I work in a grocery company called Ocado Technology. And it's just a grocery company. Oh, where are we? This Mac. What's wrong with this? Don't use your own PC for these things. Later. Yeah. Right. And it's just a grocery company. And this isn't an advert for Ocado or anything. Every company out there has this stuff in it. So when you think you're going to be eating food, whatever, this evening, all of this stuff is happening in warehouses right now. This is what a shop is starting to look like. Can I get it to come up? They look very cute. But this is what's moving food around warehouses these days. And this is just a grocery store. We know this. This does not look striking or surprising to you. It looks interesting. To people outside of this room, particularly for women, they don't know this is happening. I don't need a big load of people in there to pick stuff. It's just a bunch of robots. And it's very interesting, and you need to be involved in this stuff. And if people can't see it, they cannot do it. You are the people that they can see. If they see you, they know they can do this too. And this is the kind of like, it's all right. I mean, we think it's very interesting. I love it, but it's not, you know what I mean? But this, you take this could work virtually anywhere and to do lots of different things. If I show you another one. But this is this in many ways for me is more interesting because I have more involvement in this piece. This is a simulation of a whole warehouse. You can see the little thingies running around on top. So that's the robots running around on top. The box is coming in and out. The food is held down low in it. And there's people picking at the very edges. I wish it was a bit clear on this, but it's okay. But these are the sort of things people can do. Simulation, maths, physics, computer science. It's all hardcore math subjects. But it's not a great mystery. Now, I've shown you these ones. These are highly technical, but there's lots of non-technical jobs. I think somebody's going to be talking about usability and making things fun, making it complete later on, to make it usable. There's no point in having a big bunch of tech nobody can use. You want tech in your home, particularly perhaps if you're a carer at home, so you can leave the house and know that your grandmother is safe because you can press a button. Or every so often, with her permission, you can look on the phone and make sure she's okay and happy at home. Have a little wave while you're out at work. Everything is okay. But that is the technology you want. A practical application in your life that's useful for you. So that's enough of that one. So what I'm saying to you is get out there, get talking, let people know we are here. And let them know about the influence and the impact the technology is going to have on their lives, very particularly younger women, which you guys are, but I mean much younger than you again. And talk to their teachers and make them unafraid of this, because there's something about schools that still feels like... But even the history lesson, and even talking about the difference it can make, is exciting. You know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know already. But what we often don't know is that we need to be doing this stuff. You know that at work you're less likely to ask for a promotion and a pay rise than men. I'm at the higher end of an organisation, and I must get, even relative to the number of men and women in the company, I must get 10 times as many men asking for better titles, better pay. If you don't ask, you won't get. This isn't a university system that gives you an award, a prize for having an A. It gives it for tenacity and asking, actually, and telling people, I'm ready for that job, I'd really like to do it. Because if you're not telling them, 10 other people wanted that job, and they'll have told them. If you are in a position in HR or something to influence the way job ads are written for technology, start to look at the ads and say, are they suitable for women, for minorities, for people who look a bit different, act a bit different? Increase the diversity in the workforce. It's what you need to make this stuff work, be they male or female. Show the picture, push it. And the other piece to do, actually, oddly, has proved very, very effective, and one of the most effective things to do at work, is to tell people before they go into an interview. It's okay to do diversity training, but that happens once every 20 years or something. But the thing that's most important is to say to people before they go into a room, to be conscious of the fact that they will find it easier to interview somebody who looks like them and acts like them. And what you're trying to do is to find people with the best skills, not just people who look like you and act like you. So if you're a woman, you're more likely to pick a woman. If you're a man, you're more likely to pick a man. If you're white, you're more likely to pick somebody who's white, all of that kind of thing. And the most effective way to eliminate some of that is simply to say it to people before they go into an interview, to be conscious of their own bias. Because naturally, it's easier to speak to somebody who went to school with you. You have a shared history. You can spend 5 minutes talking at the start of an interview. But you have to grow outside of that to increase diversity. It'll make a big difference in this country. And this could become the Silicon Valley like everybody else in the whole world. Or you're just going to take what comes to you. A little bit of an advert to finish up. am I off again? I think that. Right. Code for Life actually is something that I'm very proud of, so I'm not ashamed to cover it off here. Code for Life is something we did in Ocado as part of corporate social responsibility. The company makes no money from it at all. It's used by 90,000 children now. We started primary school children, so from the age of 4 years old through to about 12. It's open sourced, so anybody could help us with it at this point. It's been largely translated into Catalan, and we're continuing on with it in Ocado technology here in Barcelona. But we have it translated into Polish, English, and very soon into Bulgarian, if we can do Cyrillic alphabet. It's used in 150 countries, and it's free. And the most important thing for anybody who's going to use it is that it has a teacher's pack. So a teacher trying to teach this in school, or somebody doing it at home, needs to know nothing. And it is entirely free. So I'm very proud of it because so many people have found it beneficial. Basically, it takes you through coding through from Blockly through to Python in a series of games. And because it's Ocado, it's moving vans and that kind of thing. But it's quite useful, it's quite interesting. We've got a lot of kids to use it. And the reason we introduced it actually is because thankfully in the UK now, it is compulsory to teach coding in schools. If I could do one thing here, I would say you guys should be writing to the Spanish government to tell them to make it compulsory here. Frightens teachers, but just keep at them until, yeah. But it's just keep, you know what I mean? Because you're going to change the world. Because otherwise, the kids up there, are, you know, have been doing this for 4 years now. Are kids here 4 years behind? I don't know. But I know we used to do computer science and computer programming even in Ireland in the late 80s at school. So that's 30 years ago now. And then everybody stopped doing it. They started to do kind of business studies, learning Microsoft Excel and things like that. But they weren't coding anymore. And in the UK, they decided to go back to coding after lots of technology companies nagged them. It scares the teachers, which is why several companies put these out, because it has a teacher's pack and the teacher needs to know nothing. And we've had lots of teachers, we have 1,500 schools using it in over 150 countries. Some in the US, you'd be amazed. You think in Silicon Valley they'd have lots of this stuff, but they don't, so they use this. In the UK, some in Spain, lots in Poland, Australia, all over the world. So we're very, very proud of it. So what I'm saying to you once again is it's a very exciting time to be alive. We can all make a huge difference. We're in the lucky position of being here. We have to realize how lucky we are and to share that story with others, particularly women, but also with men. Because if you're sharing it with somebody's mother, you're sharing it with the whole family. And they all need to be a part of this journey. Otherwise, the changes, again, political, you know, society, you know, everything like that will become, you know, slaves to robots, not the other way around. And you want the technology to work for you. And to do that, you have to be part of the story. So my line at the end of this today is, ladies and gentlemen, go forth and multiply. Thank you. Thank you.